I have been reliably informed, someone told me that good preachers, what sets good preachers apart from all the rest, is that they always start with a joke. Breaks the ice, gets people's attention. So, Pharisee, Sadducee, and Essene walk into a temple. Okay, it doesn't always work. Well, actually, it frequently doesn't work, unless the joke's actually funny or is relevant in some way. The point is, Jesus didn't start with a joke. We have this thing we call the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus did not start with a joke. As we heard last week in the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus goes up to the mountain, the disciples are with him, he starts to talk to people, and the first thing he says is, Pharisee, Sadducee, and Essene walk into a temple. No, he says, you are blessed. You are blessed. His first words, I know you're thinking to yourself, all of us being biblical scholars, you're thinking that in fact, okay, Robin, but the Sermon on the Mount in fact isn't really a sermon. Most biblical scholars think that in fact this was Matthew's way of consolidating all of the really important ethical teachings of Jesus into one block, which is why the Sermon on the Mount is the longest continuous discourse in the Bible. Okay, but even if that's true, somebody ordered it that way, set it up that way, and produced for us this wonderful sermon that begins with Pharisee, Sadducee, and Essene walk into a temple. No, you are blessed. The first thing Jesus says is you are blessed. But he doesn't stop there. He itemizes that for you. He looks around at the room at the top of the mountain. Okay, I'm mixing my metaphors. But he looks around at the crowd and he starts telling people individually how they are blessed. It might have been groups of people, nonetheless. He spoke to each person there. He didn't just throw out a random joke that some of you might get and some of you might not because it's pop culture reference, probably connected to Star Trek or Star Wars in some way. Not that I do that. A lot. He told people they were blessed because they are. And that was the point. He didn't say, you're going to be blessed, or you'll be blessed if you're like this. You are blessed. But he didn't stop there. In fact, he goes on quite a long ways. If you read the whole thing, it's 3 chapters. And we'll get there. But he didn't stop there. He said, you are blessed. You are salt and light. He did not say, you're kind of like salt and light, or you could be like salt and light if you do this. He said, you are. You already are. You already are those things. Why? Well, because you're blessed. What are you going to do with that? Well, like salt, you're going to season the world around you. And like light, you will shine and illuminate the pathway for others. You will show people things. In fact, let me tell you what you're going to show. This is why I think people have their highlights from the Sermon on the Mount. I think the Sermon on the Mount basically boils down into 2 pieces. It boils down into this piece where Jesus says, you are blessed, each of you, uniquely as you are. Especially those who think they are not. In fact, especially those who think society tells them they're not. You are blessed. And here's how you live that blessing. It's because you're salt and light. That's how you do it. Now, because you're that, here's some instructions on how you can do that. So part 1 is, you're blessed and you're salt and light, and part 2 is all the ways you're going to live that out. I know there's other stuff there. I know the Lord's Prayer is coming up, and lots of people think that's the most important thing in the Sermon on the Mount. Although, I guess that kind of depends on whether you think that's Jesus telling you how to pray, period, or just giving you an example of how you might pray. But there's other stuff coming up. There's all sorts of really lovely things that we like. Remember the birds of the air. Don't worry. Be like the birds of the air, the flowers of the fields. God takes care of them. God will take care of you too. That's great, awesome, excellent. Except all of the stuff that comes after, you are blessed, you are salt and light, is all of the ways in which you be those things. I'm just going to say that again, not to be repetitive, but I'll tell you why. It's how you be the things that you are. Because more often than not, I think we look at this big, long, this ethical teaching of Jesus and we go, okay, so we'll be blessed if we do all these things. No. You are blessed. This is how you share those things. So I think we often get stuck in that. We're back at last week's sermon now about how we think blessing is just when good stuff happens to us. Right? I happen to be blessed to be incredibly handsome. Fortunately, I'm more blessed with a sense of humor. And we think God blesses us with stuff and things. Good things happen, so that's God's blessing. God blesses you because you are. You are blessed simply because you are you. It's not about earning that. You don't earn that blessing. You have it. The point is to live it. Which is why Jesus begins with, you are blessed. You are salt and light. When you live that blessing, you flavor the world around you. You show people the love of God. I almost, except that I think I've used this PowerPoint slide like, I don't know, Damien 3 times, 4 times in the last little while. That quote from Madeleine L'Engle about how we don't show people the beauty and love of Jesus by telling them they're wrong or how they should behave. We show it. We show it to them with a light that is so beautiful and wondrous that they want to come to it. That's not a direct quote. You'd think by now I would remember it because I've used it so many times. But that's just the point of this passage, I think. You are blessed. You are salt and light that flavors and enlightens the world around you. That's why he mentions about the salt that isn't good anymore because it wasn't used. Right? You got to use it. If you don't, the world has no benefit of the you-ness, you-ness that you are. That's not a real word, is it? You-ness? It's that character from the Carol Burnett show. You are uniquely you. When you are salt and light, you live that into the world. That is sharing the blessing that is you with others. I wish we could have had these two passages. In fact, I wish we'd read the first 20 verses of the Gospel of Matthew all at the same time and be able to read it 2 Sundays in a row, because that way I could say, when you have your annual meeting in Ponoka and Bashaw, which is 2 separate Sundays, this is a key passage of Scripture. How we live our blessing into the world is part of how we are a community, right? We gather as a community to learn this very thing. It can't stay in here. You might as well keep the salt in the jar. You might as well close all the blinds on the windows. It's got to go out. When you live your blessing into the world, you are being salt and light. The rest of the teachings in the Sermon on the Mount are Jesus helping us do just that. Because the key part of all of that is simply fulfillment. This is why Jesus talks about, I haven't come to get rid of the law. If it sounds like I'm telling you to do something different than the law you know, and by the law, of course, he means the community law, not the society law. The law given by God that creates community. Remember the Ten Commandments and those other things that are designed to help us live better together? Not society's laws that say you're wrong if you do this and we'll punish you. The laws that say if you live this, it will help us create community. It will help us live together. It will build God's kingdom. Those laws. Jesus reminds everybody he hasn't come to get rid of those. He's not challenging those laws. What he's challenging you to do is fulfill them. Don't follow the letter, follow the heart of those laws. When we do that, we don't just remember things like don't kill. We remember things like give life. He's going to go on and talk about this, by the way. I don't want to spoil it for you, but he's going to go on and talk about this in the Sermon on the Mount. Don't break relationships, create them. Don't fight, right? Don't hate your enemies, love them. It's about fulfilling those laws that create community and bring life. That doesn't just fulfill the community, that fulfills you and me. It fulfills us when we do it. We are salt and light, fulfilling our blessing in the world. That's what this is all about. And it can't stay in here. You have to go and do it out there too. Be salt and light and live into your blessing. Fulfill your blessing.